your mental and spiritual health. Today, we're going to talk about your money health. I've got an amazing guest on today. His name is Chris Naugle. He's known as the #1 money mentor in the world. Good friend of mine. And we're going to talk about the state of affairs when it comes to money. Do you guys realize that the financial status is going to be radically different once this coronavirus is done? So do me a favor, hit share, #replay. Thank you for subscribing. Whatever you're doing, just keep it up. It's going to be amazing. Honestly, we're here to just to deliver you amazing, valuable content. You're not going to be sold anything today. We want the exchange to be very open and forthcoming. So be awesome, be kind, and take care of each other. With that, I'd like to bring on my awesome guest today, Mr. Chris Nobo.
How are ya?
Man, I'm amazing. Happy. Can you believe it's already May 3rd?
No.
That
No,
as shitty as it is, 2020 is already a third of the way over.
That's insane. It's just, I don't even know where the beginning part of the year went. It's just sort of like as soon as this COVID thing started, it's just been like a time warp. It's just every day. It feels like Groundhog Day every day.
Yeah. So you are America's #1 money mentor. Why?
Because my experience with money, I mean, I went most of my life, basically, well, the beginning part of my life, I didn't have any money. I grew up in a very lower middle class. I had to work on farms and do everything that I could just to get where I was. But then in my early 20s, I entered the financial services industry. So I was an advisor, and I did that from the early 20s straight on through until 2018 when I retired. And I retired because me and my wife got a show on HGTV for flipping houses. So my broker said, hey, you're either going to be on TV or you're going to be a financial advisor. Pick. I said, see ya. I sold my practice. And from that point on, I started really realizing it was the best thing that ever happened, because I wanted to teach people the truth about how money really worked. Not the stuff that I learned as an advisor, not the conventional financial wisdom, but the real truth. And that's kind of what I've been doing. And that's how I earned that name.
So let's go back real quick. Tell us about your show on HGTV.
Okay. So, well, I mean, I got to go back a little further. So 2014 was kind of the pinnacle point in my life, and I almost lost it all in 2008. I was a high-level advisor. I was making a ton of money before 2008, and I was developing a strip mall right when that crisis happened, and I got down to being one payment away from being completely bankrupt. And the only thing that saved me is my beautiful girlfriend who had just moved into my house. I remember one night I came home and I said, sweetie, I need your help. I need your help paying the mortgage. I need your help paying the utilities. And by the way, my buddy Pete's going to move into that bedroom down the hall. So I can't make it without your help. It was like a 50-50 shot. She was either going to walk out the door and never come back, or she was going to help me out, and she did. And that's how we made it through that time. But 2009 to 14 proved to be a learning lesson of sorts. I started buying real estate because Warren Buffett said that was what you do. You buy low when the markets are low. Just like right now, 2009 was absolutely, the same kind of scenario. Everything was starting to get cheaper and cheaper. And I started buying, but I did it all wrong because all I had was conventional financial knowledge, the stuff I learned as an advisor, the stuff I had, learned watching shows, reading books. And by 2014, I had 36 units. I was kind of getting back on my feet. And then all of a sudden the bank pulled the rug from underneath me. And they said, in order for you to get this 37th loan, or well, it wasn't a 37th loan, but for this 37th unit, you basically don't fit the square box. So we're not going to give you the loan. I said, well, I don't get this house. But then they said, yeah, but because you don't fit the debt to income ratio in this little square box, we have to freeze all your lines of credit, which that's how I survived. I mean, I was living and doing all these properties with these lines. They froze all my lines and I had to sell all 36 units. And right back where I was living paycheck to paycheck. We had to sell our dream house that me and my fiance at that time, Larissa, had bought. And I just was like, this can't be how life is. This can't be how money really works. And this can't be the truth of what people do. So at that moment, I got in the mail a postcard that said, come learn how to flip houses. And a lot of people always laugh at me when I tell them I was back at it to learn how to flip houses in 2014 after I'd lost it all twice. But I said, I didn't go back to this 3-day seminar because I wanted to learn how to flip houses. I went because they were giving away a free iPod shuffle. And I had nothing to lose, but I had an iPod Shuffle to gain. So at that 3-day seminar, I met two people, Mike and Greg. And those two people were rock stars in the real estate world. They were crushing it. And I remember when I heard them speak at this seminar, they started talking about what they were doing with money. And all of a sudden I had this light bulb go off in my mind. And I said, wait a second. This is the complete opposite of everything I have ever been taught about money. This is literally like stuff I've never been shown. So why is it that this is what these guys are doing? And everything I learned as an advisor and everything I've been doing for however many years, 15 years or my whole life up to that point, is the complete opposite. And that's when I dove in and I started really learning that what the wealthy do with money is not what we are taught. And it's a drastic difference, not just a little difference. I mean, a big difference. And that's when I started diving in and learning the truth and the secrets of the wealthy on what they do with money. And then I just took that and I said, well, why doesn't everybody else get taught this? And here's the truth of the answer is nobody can get paid to teach it. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, advisors can't get paid to do what I do because it's just not, number one, they're not allowed to. It's called selling away because they can't do anything but what they're paid to do. And secondly, if they were to do things like the banking systems, they would have to take a 60 to 90% cut in pay in order to talk about it. So therefore, these secrets, these mysteries of the millionaires never get told to anybody because they're the only ones that know, and no one's willing to go out there and do it for free or do it for a 60 to 90% reduced commission. That's why it is.
Here, baby. Sorry, guys. We got a little studio visitor.
Hi.
You want your costume off? All right.
So cute.
So, Chris, you're expecting your first baby.
Literally like any day. So my wife is absolutely ready to go. Our due date is May 4th. So I think we're a day away. They pushed her due date back a little bit, when she went to the doctor last. So it might be a little bit after that.
Hey, you girls, go play outside. Go. We had a sleepover last night.
Oh, that's fun.
Ollie, you're the big girl. Go play outside. Take her outside. Let her go. Okay, go back upstairs. Go back upstairs. Go back upstairs. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. It's good practice for me.
Oh my gosh. Mason, go upstairs. Get used to that, everybody. So May 4th is your due date. That's awesome. Yeah. What type of economic world do you see your baby being born into right now?
A completely different one than we've been in for a very long time. God, I don't even know where to start. Things are going to be totally different. I mean, if you think about everything that's been happening over the last couple of months and what we've been doing in terms of, being in, I'm in New York, so you guys can only imagine New York's the worst of it all. And don't think for a second that anything that you're seeing in the news is not the truth about how bad it is in New York. It is. But I mean, the quarantine is taught us all. Has taught us all that we have to basically start living differently. I mean, we're not going out to eat. We're not traveling around. So the world that we're living in now could be the new reality of what the world's going to be like after this. I mean, there's going to be a lot more businesses working remotely. Offices, as we know them or as we've known them, businesses aren't going to have offices like they did. Not all of them won't, but a lot of them will be remote. The way we handle money is kind of getting to be more of a digital currency. We're not really going to the bank. Everything's being done on phones and pushing buttons. Yeah. So I think the entire realm of how money exchanges and how we go to work, how we perform and run our businesses is completely transforming right now. And I think what you're seeing happen too is a lot of unbelievable companies are being created right now. These are the opportunities that are going to come out of this. Every single recessionary period creates opportunity, but you got to understand, some people look at these periods as an obstacle, not an opportunity. And you got to look at it one or the other, because that's all it is. It's going to be an obstacle for you and you're going to bury your head in the sand and get run over, or it's going to be an opportunity and you're going to realize that even though these times are hard, these hard times will create lots of opportunities. So I think having my daughter into these times is good, because having a daughter in good times doesn't really teach them hard times. And my friend wrote a book called Hard Times Create Strong Men and Women. And I truly believe that when when you actually are, in hard times, it forces you to do things out of your comfort zone, either out of necessity or just out of change, out of pivoting. And that's what we're seeing. So I'm actually excited about it, because hopefully I can teach her a lot out of it.
Chris, do you think we're in a recession? Do you think we're in a depression? Where do you think we are on that?
Okay, so definitely in a recession, no question. You just don't hear them talking about that, because in politics, that wouldn't be good business. That wouldn't be good for an election. So you're not really hearing that. We are absolutely in a recession. By the unemployment numbers, we are seeing depression levels. Now, we can't say that we're in a depression, because depression, the true definition, takes, I think it's, there's an amount of time it takes, and I don't remember exactly what that is, but we're not there yet. But by the unemployment numbers, we are absolutely well beyond depression levels that we saw in the Great Depression and things like that. So, and those unemployment numbers just keep going up and up and up. And the funniest thing, it just keeps getting ignored in the media. I mean, the media doesn't. One day this last week in the markets, did they talk? I'm sorry, 2 days they talked about unemployment numbers, and it's funny because the unemployment numbers are staggering, out of control.
30 billion.
Yeah, it's just unreal. And they're not even barely talking about it.
Just to frame it for people, what were the unemployment numbers during the Great Depression? Do you remember?
I don't remember. A lot. They were high. But I mean,
5%, right?
Yeah, it was really high. But you got to remember the population was different too. So if you just do it off the percentages, it was probably very similar to where we're at now.
Yes, 25%. And we're currently at 30% unemployment.
Right.
So
yeah.
The hedge fund manager, Ray Dalio, said that we were in depression.
Yeah, I watched that TED Talks was amazing. And I think everybody watching this really needs to do themselves a favor and watch Ray Dalio's TED Talks, because if you really want the truth, this man is the #1 hedge fund in the world. Yeah. Okay, the largest hedge fund, and he's a brilliant man. The only thing about Ray that's a problem is Ray never talks about what he does or about his opinions at all. Yeah. This TED Talk was like the first time that man came out of his shell and actually discussed what he was really thinking.
It was a riveting hour-long conversation with one of the smartest money men on the planet.
100%.
Now we got one today, right now on this broadcast. So here we go.
I've read his book. I've watched so many of his things. Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing I always say about Ray is Ray just doesn't say what's really going on. Ray won't talk about it. But
do you think that these unemployment numbers are artificially raised because we are forced to go on lockdown? So I have this feeling that people think they're not paying attention to the unemployment numbers because they think they'll go down once they open up the economy again and people go back to work. What do you think about that?
Well, I definitely think the unemployment numbers aren't being fully stated. I can tell you that right now. But I also think that there is a false sense of hope, a false sense of reality, that when the economy does open back up, which you're already seeing, I mean, some beaches are opening and, some states are opening up, but what you're going to see very quickly, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, is you're not going to see business go back to normal. You're not going to see restaurants packed. You're not going to see shopping centers packed. People are still scared. There's no vaccination. And even if there was a vaccination, people are going to be scared to take a new vaccination. It's not tested. They're rushing these vaccinations.
To market for a year at least.
I mean, so even if they open all this up, like, that doesn't mean it's business as usual. Mm-hmm. That means that businesses are going to learn. There's going to be a false sense. They're open their doors. They're going to think it's all going to be better, and it's not. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, those businesses instantly are going to have a realization that, oh my God, I don't think I can make it.
And I don't know any restaurants that can run on 25% capacity.
No, I there's no way. Not unless there was, there's just no way. Not with their overhead, their expenses, spoilage. I mean, they're already crippled. I mean, I'm scared to even sometimes think about what I think is going to happen in the business world, but I think you could see 50% of the small businesses out there go bankrupt during this. You really could.
Well, I interviewed Walter O'Brien, the Scorpion, last week, and he said half the jobs are already gone. You just don't know it.
So my guess is pretty good if that's the man that predicts the future.
Yeah, futurist. So we're going to be dealing with this new reality. A lot of Americans don't know it yet, but their jobs have already been gone. They're not going back to jobs. So what can Americans do to protect themselves? Is they answer Bitcoin, or what do they do? Is it silver? Do they buy gold? What are they doing?
Well, the first thing I think people need to realize is, like, they need to start like taking their lives back, and they need to take control not only of their lives and what their futures are going to be. Like picture like that. This sounds scary, right? Everybody that's watching this might seem really scary, but you really need to take the glasses off, you know. And I always keep these glasses here because these are what we've been wearing for a long time. The rosy colored glasses. Everything's been pretty. Everything's been fairly, you know, consistent, fairly easy. But at this point, we take the glasses off, and what we see we don't really like, but you have to get used to this. This is the new normal. And it actually can be a really good thing, because I want you to think of, like, if I pulled this over here, I want you to think of your life like just a completely blank sheet of paper. That's your life, right? You've got nothing but a blank sheet of paper. Sorry, I normally have this, a blank sheet of paper in front of you. You can make your life anything you want it. All those times that you've thought about doing something new, all those times you've been sick of your job. Well, if you're laid off, furloughed, or not going back to work, this is the time where you start thinking about those ideas you had and you make them happen. Because this is the reset button was hit, and we all get to basically create our own reality. We have a blank canvas in front of us and we can do whatever we want, but you have to pivot. And you have to realize that things aren't going back to normal. So during these times, I think number one, you need to take realization of that. Number two, with your current money, you need to get back control. See, our whole lives, we've been taught to do nothing but give up control of our money. Think about it. Like, what have we been told and taught to do with our money? Deposit it in the banks and get what? Nothing or less than 1% on our money. Put it in CDs, put it in 401ks or various employer sponsored plans. What are we doing every single time we do that? We're giving up control of our money. We're giving control up to somebody else because we don't think we're smart enough to be in control of our money, which is really funny because we do things with money that we would just never, ever do with things that money buys. Think about, and here, let me give you an example. Like, if you went to the supermarket and you bought a really nice loaf of Italian bread, and you came home with that Italian bread and you put that Italian bread in your freezer and you closed the door. But then you waited 5, 10, 15 years, and you come back to that freezer, you open the freezer door, you take that loaf of bread out. Would you eat that? It would be a freezer burn piece of something that you would not eat. Would you ever buy a car and wait 5, 10, or 15 years to drive the car? Would you ever buy your dream home and wait 5, 10, or 15 years to move in? If you did that and you're married, you wouldn't be married anymore. Like, we do things with money that we just wouldn't do with things that money buys. So why do we give up control of our money, put it somewhere in anticipation of being paid back that money someday later, 5, 10, or 15%? And if we take it earlier, we know the government's going to penalize us. Like, why should we be penalized? Why should we be taxed on our money? Well, I'll tell you why. Because we have allowed that to happen. Because we have believed the big lie and we have given up control of our money.
Are you saying a 401k and retirement and IRAs, are they lies?
Well, they're not the big lie, but the simple fact that that's the only thing we should be doing with money is the big lie. I'm not saying stop putting money in your 401ks. I'm just saying really look at what you're doing. If you've got a ton of credit card debt, listen, I deal with so many people. I mean, hundreds of people a month I do phone calls with. And the funniest thing is I do these calls with these people, and many of these people are buried in debt. They're literally living every single month, paycheck to paycheck, trying to make their bills. But yet I find out they're still contributing. They're still contributing a lot of money into their 401k. And I'm just like, wait a second. Why are you giving up control of your good dollars today? Because here's the other thing too. If I had a dollar bill on me, think about your money right now. Your money's worth the most amount right now. It's not going to be worth more tomorrow or next month or the 10 years down the line because of inflation. And newsflash.
The last time I interviewed you, you said something I want to go back and revisit real quick. That, see, the average person thinks this $2 trillion bailout is a good thing. But you don't think it's a good thing. So can you go back and explain why it's not a good thing? All the bailout money.
I want to do it without getting too complicated with it. So here's the thing. The bailout's necessary. Just like it was in 2009, the economy would have crashed. And this bailout, I'd love to know where all $2 trillion went, because it didn't go to the people that it really needed to. But we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. But when the government prints money, when the government just prints money, it's literally printing money out of thin air. So imagine that, right? This money is just happening on a printing press, and it's an exchange of, let's just say this is your money and this is a promise to repay the money. This is a note, right? So and they call them bonds or they call them treasuries. So all that the Fed does is exchanges money for bonds or money for treasuries. there's no exchange of anything tangible. There's no exchange of anything that actually has a value. It's an exchange of paper. And that money that gets $2 trillion, it's actually more than that now, that gets printed out of thin air. Do you know where it gets its value from? Our dollars. Our dollars, whatever our money is worth today, the second they print money, our money becomes worth less because that new money has to derive value out of somewhere. And it takes its value out of our current dollars. It's called inflation. It is a hidden tax. You just don't know that because they've never really told you that. Remember in school, you never learn this stuff. And there's a reason you don't learn anything about money and financial knowledge in school. It's because they don't want you to know that. They just don't. Because if you knew the truth, I don't even know what would happen if you actually knew the truth. It'd be like the Matrix, right? Which pill do you want? Pick a pill. It'd be the same thing. But I mean,
when they printed $2 trillion, all they did, and correct me if I'm wrong, all they did was really just devalue your current money that you already have. Am I right?
You're absolutely correct. I mean, that's what always happens when they print money. And you'll notice every single time there's a recessionary period, what does the Fed do? They find a way to print more money, take care of their own political agendas. They find ways to get money in the hands of the people that help them get into office. I mean, I hate to say this. I hate politics. I hate them with a passion, but like, look at what's going on and who's paying for that? We are with our current dollars, which, like I said, our current dollars are our most valuable dollars. They're worth the most. So, but what we do with our money, our current dollars, those valuable dollars, is we give them away. We give up control of them. Or better yet, we've literally got ourselves into a situation where every single dollar that we make, we give up 90% of that. 90 cents of every dollar we give away to somebody else, whether it's our car payments, our credit card payments, our loan payments, our mortgages. And you might say, yeah, well, Chris, that's just how it is. Well,
now, I bet a lot of people are probably saying, wondering, are you saying not to put your money in a bank?
Well, no, that would be silly. So here's what I am saying. For any of you that are watching this right now, and I've been telling you can look at me on Facebook, on anything else, and you can watch all my previous recordings, and you will see, had you listened, there's a lot of things that you would have saved you tons and tons of money. But right now, where we're at in this whole cycle, you just saw Wells Fargo stopped taking home equity lines of credit. They will not take applications. Yeah, I posted it on my Facebook Live. Wells Fargo announced publicly that they are no longer taking applications for home equity lines of credit.
Wow.
So in 2009, if we could just learn what happened in the past, banks do have the ability to freeze our access to our money. So if you have a line of credit or a home equity line of credit on your house, and that money's just sitting there and you're super excited because you've got access to that money. Imagine if tomorrow the bank said to you, you no longer can take the money out of your home equity line. And you would say, wait a second, I have the equity in my house. I applied for this. I was approved. Like, you can't just take that away. Yes, they can, folks, because right now your house value is decreasing in value. House and all property values are going to start going down in value. And as they go down, the banks know this. And the banks know that your equity in your house, technically, like every day that money's going away. So I'm going to get back to not keeping money. But like, imagine if you had a home equity line of credit and you never tapped that equity to use that money. And then all of a sudden the government took that away. How would that change your life? Well, maybe it wouldn't, but maybe you'd say, wait a second, I was going to use that money to buy real estate or buy stocks when they get to their low point. You now don't have that ability because somebody else was in control of your money. When your money's at a bank right now, let's say you had more than $10,000 sitting at any conventional bank. I don't care if it's Wells Fargo. I don't care if it's Bank of America. I want you to do a little experiment. Go to your bank and try to take all your money out right now and see if they will give you. You're darn right you can't. Now, if you're in control of your money, why can't you walk in the bank where your deposits are and take all your money just like that? It's your money, right? They won't let you.
Craig,
they will. It's sick.
Craig Johnson's the senior loan officer, says home loans through Chase now requires a 700 plus FICO score and a 20% down payment.
There you go. I mean, think about that. A 20% down payment on your house. How many people would actually be able to pony up 20% of their home purchase?
Nobody.
So, no, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but I think you're probably pretty close to the truth.
Well, I mean, a $200,000 house, 20% means you need $40,000.
Right.
To put down. So just like, here's my money.
Yeah. And what did you just do? You just gave up control of your money again. So let's talk about like some tangible things that I tell people to do. First off, if you've got equity in your house right now, and if you do not next week start applying for home equity lines of credit on your house to get access to your money, you're foolish. That is the most foolish thing. Get your money, because it's your money. It's your equity in your house, but you're allowing your money to be lazy. Think about what most people do. They have equity in their house and they're really excited about that equity in their house. But what they do is they let their money sit lazy on their couch, but yet they go to work every day. They hustle, they go to work and make a living. And then when they come home and they open the door to their house, they look over at their couch and there's their money sitting on their couch, eating their potato chips, drinking their soda, watching their TV. And their money's been doing that every single day that they're off working. But the thing is if you just knew how to make your money work for you, that money could be out working harder than you are. Okay, and you could be working less hard.
I want you to respond to this comment by Diane. I'm so glad my home is paid off. She says it like it's like a good thing. Why is this a bad thing? What can you respond to this?
Well, first off, I want to commend you, Diane, that you worked hard, you got your house paid off, and you don't owe anybody anything for your house. But I want you to really look at your life, and I want you to ask yourself, that house that is fully paid off, how is that changing your life? Is your house paying for your car? Is your house paying your bills and your credit cards? It's not. Your house is doing nothing more than sitting there being a liability, because every single one of our houses, our primary residences, are a liability until you turn it into an asset. And the only way to turn it into an asset is to make it start making you money. But you might say, well, I don't know how to do that. Mm-hmm. Sure you do. You absolutely do know how to do that. Your house is fully paid off. So because your house is paid off, you have no mortgage. That's great. But go out and get a home equity line of credit. It will cost you nothing. If you can get a bank that will lend you a home equity line of credit, get it. And when you get that home equity line of credit, I mean, I could show you how, and there's a lot of places we have to find somewhere to make that money work. Because just because you get approved for the home equity line and you have access to that money, or maybe don't, you need to make that money work for you and make money. We are in a recessionary period or a economic collapse or crash or whatever you guys want to call this. There are so many opportunities right now. And one of the biggest things I see when I talk to people every single month is I see that they're putting money in 401ks. They've got home equity lines of credit available, and yet they're buried in credit card debt. And you're just every month you're giving the credit cards 10, 15, 20, maybe 29% interest. You're making these minimum payments to the credit card. You got the money, you're just giving it to somebody else.
How do you respond to this reckless bliss character? He says he wants you to go into debt and you're nuts.
I don't want you to go into debt. I want you to get control of your money. I'm not saying go into debt. Having access to a home equity line of credit is absolutely not going into debt. It's basically having control and access to money when you need it. I'm not telling you to go into debt. Matter of fact, I'm telling you to pay all your credit cards off. And I could teach you exactly how to do that without changing anything in your life, without working any harder, without losing control of your money, and without taking on any risk. But yet, see, here's the biggest problem in America. And I don't mean to pick on the person that just said that, but here's the biggest problem in America. And I need you all to listen carefully. The biggest problem in America is not what people don't know. The biggest problem in America is what people think they know that just ain't so. That gentleman thought that I was telling you to go into debt. I am absolutely not telling you to go into debt. I am telling you how to get control of your money so you can actually get yourself out of debt by using money that's available to you right now that you are rightfully, you're not in control of. And then let's go back to the bank accounts.
What about John Fraser, who says you have to pay back your home equity line of credit?
Of course you do. If you use the money. If you take the money out of your home equity line of credit, you do have to pay it back. But at this point, I didn't tell you to take the money out of your home equity line unless you have credit cards to pay off, or you have an opportunity to basically place that money from your home equity line of credit that will earn you more than what you're paying. See, everybody's jumping 2 steps ahead when I haven't even got there yet, because people think they know what they don't know.
So Michelle wants to know how.
Well, how long do we have on this?
We got all
right. So let me go back, because we're getting ahead. So I'm going to tell you how to make your money work for you in just a moment. But let's take one step back, because remember we talked about banks. So if you have a bunch of money sitting in a bank account and you go to your bank to try to take that, they're not going to let you take that money. So how do you mitigate that risk? It's very simple. It's called diversify your bank accounts. So if you've got all your money at one conventional bank, what I would suggest is go out and find a bunch of different banks, maybe 2 other banks or 3 other, depending on how much you have. Limit your exposure to each bank to basically 10,000 or under. And this is a good exercise, because this will give you the opportunity to go out and build relationships with community banks. We are so accustomed to commercial banks, the big ones on every single corner. We've almost forgot. Some people don't even know what a community bank is. A community bank is your local small bank in your town. And the nice thing about a community versus a commercial, they actually know your name. They care about you. It's a relationship. So move some of that money that you have in conventionals, diversify it, and put some money in community banks, put some money in credit unions, and just spread it out over different types of banks, or even different types of, or different conventional banks.
Why should people do that?
Why should they? Because, well, if you do that, you've now spread your money out over a couple different banks, and now you have back control. So the bank, if they tell you you can't take all your money, now I'm not sitting here saying the government's going to call martial law, but let's just pretend, let's plan for the worst and hope for the best. But by having your money in multiple banks, you could literally get in your car and just do a tour of the 2 or 3 banks you have, and you could take all your money out in one clean swoop, instead of going to a bank and having them tell you you can't take all your money. You have to wait. Now, all of a sudden, you have access. And why would you want access? Well, if an opportunity came about that you could take action on, let's just say back in 2009, the person who founded Uber, we all know what Uber is. Let's say that you were talking to them on a live like this, and they talked about this brand new company that they were going to do that was going to disrupt the taxis. And they said, I'm seeking investors at $10,000 each to invest in this brand new company called Uber. Well, if you don't have access to the 10 grand, or you don't have access to the equity sitting in your house, would you be able to take advantage of that opportunity? No. And I'm not saying that, you're going to know who the next, Uber is, but you don't know that you're not. So again, be prepared instead of not being prepared. That's all I'm saying. So now that I've explained that, it's just smart business. And how do I know this? Because every single multimillionaire and billionaire that I know has done this, folks. So you might sit there and say, oh, he's just telling me to get into debt. He's telling me to do this. It makes no sense. If it doesn't make any sense, why is it that every single multimillionaire and billionaire that I know has already done this and did this months ago? But what the multimillionaires and billionaires have done is they've gone and they've tapped out all their lines of credit. But you see, for somebody that just says, well, why would somebody tap out their line of credit? That creates a new payment, and I don't want more debt. I don't want another payment. I mean, it's already hard enough to make my payments. But here's the thing. The people that know how to make money on money are not looking at the cost, because cost is only an issue in the absence of value. What they're looking at is they're saying, in 2009, if I had lines of credit available to me, the bank froze them and I didn't have access to that money. So now I'm getting access to that money, that I now can place that money in a business venture. I can spend it on marketing for my company. I can pay off, high interest rate debts. Because a lot of times, let's just go to the home equity line of credit. Let's say you're one of the 99% of Americans that have credit card debt. You could borrow money from your house in the form of a home equity line of credit at a lower interest rate than your credit cards are. Absolutely. So it would make sense to take money from your home equity line and pay off your credit cards. Then, hold on, there's an additional step that's very important. You have to recycle and recapture the money from your credit card payments and pay down your home equity line. See, I'm not just telling you to be wild, wild west with your money. I'm telling you to be smart. Mimic what the banks do. So if you took money from your home equity line of credit here and you paid off your credit cards here, but your credit cards are $300 a month, take that $300 a month you were used to give away to the credit cards, pay down your home equity line of credit. Let's go round 2. What about a 401k? If any of you are still working, you still have a job, and you have a 401k or an employer-sponsored plan, the government just upped the amount you can take as a loan from your 401k. Now, I'm not just saying go blindly start taking loans from 401ks, but if you can borrow money from your 401k, and you can do that, and then you are going to pay interest on that loan, but the interest that you pay goes back to your account. A lot of people don't realize when they take a loan from their 401k, the payments that they have to make back, because you do have to pay that money back, those payments you make back go back into your account with interest going back to your account. The financial company's not keeping the interest. That's your money. So I don't think anyone's making money in stocks.
Chris, because you can talk about this all day long, but I want to address some viewer concerns, because
yes.
Because when you talk this way, it's so contrary to what we've been taught. So, for example, one viewer says, "Live within your means." Mm-hmm. For example, why is that wrong? Or why is that what you're saying people should do? Or it sounds like you're trying to get people to go into debt and you tap into your 401k, which is kind of like their safe money or their retirement money. It sounds really risky. It sounds so contrary to what we've been taught. So can you just address some of those concerns?
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, so live within your means. I think that's a great way to live. And I wish more people did that, but most people don't, and therefore they've racked up credit card debt, and they've racked up debt of, maybe it's multiple car payments, boat payments, whatever it is. And if the person that said that, if you're not in debt and you're living within your means, awesome. Don't change a thing. Don't change a thing. I'm talking about the people that I talk to, which is hundreds a month. A lot of them are in debt, in credit card debt, paying, double digit returns to these credit card companies and on their debts. Those are the people I'm trying to address. Like if you're buried in, if you're on the financial hamster wheel, as I call it, because you've basically not been in control of your money and to live, to pay for the things that you want, you've used debt. So in doing that, you've racked up a bunch of debt. Now, if you don't have a bunch of credit card debt, then some of this stuff does not apply to you. I'm still saying you should diversify your bank accounts, and you certainly should still get access to the equity in your house in the form of a home equity line. If you don't use that home equity line of credit, great. But just realize if that money is sitting there in your home equity line and you don't tap into that money, they could take it away from you. But that's just the risk that you're going to have. But having access to it is still more powerful than not having access to it. So, but I'm talking again, if you have a 401k or you got a home equity line and you've got $10, $15, $20,000 in credit card debt, it just would make sense for you to take a loan from your 401k, take that 401k loan, pay off those credit cards, then take the money that you were paying the credit cards and pay it back to the 401k. You're essentially then you're becoming the bank, and you're paying yourself back instead of giving money to everybody else, because that's what we do.
It's such a simple concept. What you just
It is.
said. But people won't do it, or they're nervous about doing it because I think they feel like they're putting their money at risk. So can you slow that down? Can you rewind that and talk about that again real slower? And I know you have your chart behind you. I'm going to put you on the big screen and see if we can get a bigger view. Hold on.
Yeah, because it's really hard for me. And I also am using a different, here we go. All right, so let's just try to do it this way. So this is a chart that I did for one of the strategies where I teach people how they can be the bank by changing one thing. And that one thing is just changing where the money goes first. But let's just pretend that we're going to talk about what I was just talking about. Let's keep on that same train of thought. You've got credit card debt. Let's just put this over here. Here's your credit card debt right here. So over here, you've got all this debt. And let's just be simple. Let's assume that your Visa, you're paying $100 a month to your Visa. And that Visa is costing you, I don't know, let's just call it 20% interest. That's what Visa charges. My Visa card's over 20%. If you guys have one that's less, great. But most credit cards charge high interest rates. So you're giving this $100 away every single month. And you don't even think twice about it, because if you didn't give Visa this $100, they would hit your credit. They would basically put you into collections, and that wouldn't be a good thing. So you just make these payments. But then over here on the other side, let's just pretend over here, your bank. Now your bank, I'm not just referring to your bank account, okay? I'm talking about your bank could be money that you have in a 401k, money that's sitting in a home equity line of credit that you're not using, or the equity in your house. If you had that money sitting over here, but yet you're giving all your money away over here to the debtors, why wouldn't you just take the money from your 401k, move that money, and this is just your regular bank account. I'm just showing the flow because it goes from your 401k to your regular bank account. We call that a segregated account. Then move that money to pay off the debts. But now that's where most people start. And that's where the big problem begins. Because if you took money from here to pay this off and you just thought that the equation was over, you've literally just put yourself in a worse situation.
Yeah.
Well, so what you then have to do is be an honest banker. And being an honest banker means you take whatever you were given to the debtors, to the credit cards. You take that money and you reverse what you just did. You take the money that you were giving away to the credit cards, that $100, you pay that money back to wherever that money came to pay it off. So if this was your loan to your 401k, you just take what you were given the credit cards and you put it back to your 401k. You take what you were given away to the credit cards and you put it back into your home equity line of credit. You pay the debt down over here. This is a lower interest rate than this. And really what this diagram is shown to do is to show you how you could do this without ever not making 4% on that money. But I don't think we're going to get into that today. This is a concept, a strategy that's been around for 200 years. And it is one that basically works every single time without failing. But I'm just showing you right now, using assets and vehicles you currently have, how you can do this. I mean, there is nothing complicated about this. Am I telling you to get in more debt here? No. I'm telling you to use good debt to pay off bad debt. by being an honest banker and literally mimicking what the banks do by moving your money. Take the money from your 401k, your home equity, pay your credit cards, then whatever you were given the credit cards, you put it back against whatever you took the money from, the home equity line of credit, the 401k loan.
I think that's a really good comment you just made. You're not telling people to get into more debt, and that's where their mental block, like they're like, oh my God, that's so weird. You're saying get control of your money.
That's all I'm saying is 100% get control of your money. And what did we do here? In this diagram, all we did is we changed one thing, folks. Instead of giving everybody else your money, what you did is you paid yourself first, because I didn't really show the whole thing, but instead of putting the money in the bank and then going from the bank to all your debts, if I could show you a way to put the money somewhere different, a different kind of bank that paid you a guaranteed 4%, then from that bank, you paid everybody off. That would change your entire life. We're not going to cover this today, but I promise you the next time we do this, because this is going to be a regular education that we're going to do, I'll show you exactly how this system works. I'll show you how we help thousands of people do this and change their life overnight by changing just one thing, and that's where their money goes first. So
now you have a webinar about this.
I do.
Tell them the website for the webinar.
Yeah. So it's do we want to put it in the notes? It's moneyschool.rei.com/TMMM.
The money.
The money multiplier method, actually just like underneath my name. Yep. And that webinar, it's 90 minutes, and that 90 minutes will change your life.
And it's totally free.
It's totally free, and there's we're not selling you a darn thing. But I can tell you, the second you watch that webinar, just like so many of you right now, you will start to say to yourself, this sounds too good to be true. And I'll tell you why you'll say that is because nobody's ever shown you this. Just like much of this stuff I'm telling you right now, this is not the conventional financial knowledge. Because where has the conventional financial knowledge landed most people? On the financial roller coaster, in financial slavery. Like, don't kid yourself. Like, you guys might not all be there, but don't kid yourself. I know. The average person is in financial slavery because they followed what they've been taught to do with their money their entire life. And I'm not saying it's a big lie, but it's not serving you well. And if you just changed a few things in what you do and understood how money really works, it would change your entire financial future. And this is the time to do it. Because
the statistics based on following or doing what we've been taught basically says that 60% of Americans, and we have a worldwide audience right now, but 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and 70% of Americans don't have $500 in the bank. That's where following conventional teachings has gotten us.
Right.
Is this whole, have we been just told a lie? This your house is an asset, it's your biggest investment, invest in 401ks, leave your money, let it grow. Has that all been a lie?
You could call it whatever you want, but in my podcast, The Real Estate Money School, I do call it the big lie. And I have a lot of justification. So you guys have to understand, I spent 16 years as a high-level financial advisor, Wall Street level, managing it was more than that. I don't even know how many millions of dollars we managed at the firms I was at, hundreds of millions. And I'm telling you right now that if you're following all the conventional financial knowledge that you've been given and nothing's changing in your life, you have to start looking and asking the question of why. Like that's how I did it. 2009, I lost it all. 2014, I pretty much lost it all again. And I started asking myself, why is it that the wealthy, the people that know what they're doing or that are getting ahead are doing something totally opposite of everything I've been doing my entire life? And folks, like you don't need to believe me, because we're going to keep doing this education. And believe me, the more you basically sit by the campfire and listen, the more you're going to learn, and it's all going to start making sense. Right now, you're just thinking, oh, this guy's talking crazy. Just like some of you saying, I'm telling you to get in debt, when that's the last thing I'm telling you to do. I'm telling you how to get back control of your money. But again, until you sit around the campfire a little bit longer and start understanding that what I'm telling you is the complete opposite of what you've been told your whole life. And there's a reason for that, because everybody that's told you financial knowledge your entire life, I hate to say this, most of the people that have been giving you knowledge, whether it be the banks or the financial advisors like I used to, it's self-serving knowledge. Now, that's how we get paid.
I want you to address some of your concerns. Is this a multi-level marketing scheme that you're trying?
Oh my God, absolutely not. What do I even have to sell right now? I mean, I have a community that I do, and I have the banking systems we set up, but none of you can help me do that. Like you guys can tell people once it changes your life, but I don't have a multi-level marketing. I despise multi-level marketing companies, but some of them are actually really good because it allows them to get a really good product out to the masses in a short period of time. But what I'm doing, listen, folks, I'm not pitching you anything. I'm not selling you anything today. I'm just telling you what I've learned. And I'm telling you how I've watched thousands of people change their lives by changing just one thing in their lives. And that's what I'm telling you. I'm not trying to pitch you on some multi-level marketing. I don't even know where that came about, but I understand a lot of people they're always, this is, again, I told you, that statement, the problem in America is not what people don't know. It's what they think they know that just ain't so. Everybody's mind right now is thinking the worst case scenario. Like, what is he trying to sell? What is he trying to do? You're negative thinking. Like and that's going to keep you on the same damn financial hamster wheel that you've always been. And if that's all you do is think negatively, you have got to change your mindset first. Otherwise, nothing I'm telling you is ever going to help you. And you might as well just jump off now because it's not going to help you.
So,
financial knowledge will change your life.
A viewer wants to know, why is the 401k a scam?
Oh, no. I'm not saying holy cow. It's because we're going from one thing to the next. The 401k is not a scam. At all, not in any way, shape, or form. You just have to understand that the money you're putting in the 401k is money that you're giving up control of to wait for a later day to then take that money back out. And what I've seen is most people their entire lives put money in retirement plans. And then someday later, when they're ready to take that money out, they're going to take that money out at a higher tax rate. And that money's worth less. I'm not saying it's a lie. I'm not saying it's a scam. Look, I have money I don't put money in 401k anymore, but I used to, and I still use that money today, but I don't use it the same way you guys do. I don't use my money in my retirement plans to buy mutual funds or ETFs. Okay. I do something totally different with it, which again, I'm not going there yet, but here's the thing I'll tell you with your 401ks, if you're maxing your 401k out, then you need to ask yourself, if you're maxing your 401k out or putting a bunch of money into it, but yet you've got a whole bunch of credit card debt that you're struggling with every month, why not just reduce the amount you're putting to your 401k for a little while to pay off your credit card debt with the difference and then resume that? But
hey, Chris, I want to give you back the big screen and using that money multiplier method you were showing earlier. Just talk us through that again about how you can use your 401k, not maximizing your 401k.
Do you mind can I just draw it? It's easier if I just start fresh. When you give me the big screen, I'll just redraw. It's just so much easier. Can everybody see this?
Yeah.
All right. So
specifically though, Chris, like if someone is maximizing out their 401k, why you suggest they don't do that, instead pay off their credit cards.
Okay.
All right.
So let's just say your 401k. If you're getting a 3 to 4% match, this is the money that your employer is giving you every single pay period that you put money in. So if you're getting a match, that right there, that's your floor. You should never be putting less than your match in because that is free money. Okay. I can't show you how to get free money, but let's just say you're putting 10% into your 401k. Okay. Maybe you're doing 3 or 4% because you want to get the match, but the rest you're doing because you want money for retirement, which I absolutely understand that as well. But then over here, you've got all these credit cards, which are charging you between 10 and 29%. And these are costing you whatever, 100 to some people are 1,000 a month. And most of this is all interest that's going away, not to you. So wouldn't it make sense to reduce this down to just the match? Take the difference, let's just say it's 7%, and pay off your credit cards. But now let's say you got the ability to take a loan. All that money that you've been putting in your 401k, right now, the government will allow you to take $100,000 as a loan. So you take that loan, you wipe out these credit cards, which you were paying 10 to 29%. Essentially, by doing that, what you literally just did is you literally just picked up 10 to 29%, whatever your credit cards are charging you. That interest that you were giving away now can come back to pay your 401k loan off. This is called being an honest banker. So that's what we call it. Being an honest banker simply means whatever money you're giving away to the credit card companies, take that money and pay back your 401k loan. The beautiful thing is a 401k loan, they're going to charge you interest. And I don't know what yours is, but let's just say it's 5 to 6%. That's the interest you're going to pay to that loan. Okay, that you took from your 401k, that 5 to 6% interest, That money, when you pay it back, goes back into your 401k. The interest that you repay on your 401k loan, that's your money. You're not giving that away to a credit card company. You're not giving that away to a bank. You're paying yourself back with interest. And that's more than what you're making in the markets right now. Unless you're a professional trader and you're trading the downswing, that's probably more than what you're making in the stock market right now. So it just makes all the sense in the world that if you've got money in a 401k and you can take that money out in a loan because the government just increased that to $100,000, you can now take that loan out, pay off whatever bad debt you have, okay? Because this would be good debt. Pay off the bad debt, recapture and recycle the money that you were giving away to the credit card companies, the boat loan, the car loan, whatever high interest rate loans you have that you pay off, take and recycle and recapture that money back. Now, let's just pretend that that's not a 401k. Let's say that's your home equity line of credit. Great. Let's say that is your, it could be anything where you're using money. It could just be a regular line of credit. Whatever it is, as long as you follow the simple rules of not just taking money from one of these other sources and using it, you then have to basically be an honest banker or be just a good steward of money and take whatever you freed up and pay it back. That's the hardest part, but that's where online banking helps. Online banking can allow you to do all this systematically and automatically, just like this shows. This is just one circle, right? One continuous flow of money. And I haven't explained what this bank is yet, and we're going to get to that probably in the next one, unless you guys watch that webinar, which is moneyschoolrei.com/TMMM. But it doesn't matter what this is. All I'm telling you is take money from this side, pay off your debts, and then recapture and recycle the money that you're giving away. By doing that, you literally took back control of your money. You literally did. It's all you're doing is you're just moving your money the same way a bank moves money. And in doing that, you're back in control of your money. And I don't care if it's your 401k, your home equity line of credit, or what I'm going to talk about the next time, but that's all you're doing, folks.
Chris, there's a viewer question that I'd like you to touch.
Yes.
And I know we're bouncing around a little bit, but I think this has been fascinating. Why should somebody rent instead of buy a house? If they can buy a house, should they buy a house or should they rent?
Well, I think buying a house right now, as prices of real estate come down right now in the next 3 to 6 months, buying a house makes all the sense in the world. If you can buy a house lower when the house pricing is getting lower, it's all about, follow what Warren Buffett says. He says, buy low, sell high, and don't lose money. Well, you could do the same thing in real estate. How many of you watching this wish you could have went back to 2009 or 10 and bought your primary residence in 2009 or 10? Sign me up. That's what's happening right now. So if you're renting right now and you're thinking about buying a house, guess what? Give it a couple months, wait for this whole thing to set in, because the unemployment numbers are what they are. And right now we got stimulus money, we got the money that everybody just got. So people can't be evicted or lose. But as that starts happening, I'm seeing it. I'm in real estate. We have my wife runs our real estate division, and I'm watching pricing come down already. And that's way ahead of where I thought. So if you're thinking about buying a house, guess what? You're going to be able to buy on sale pretty soon. That is really smart.
Yeah, but how can they buy a house if they don't have any credit? Their score is horrible. They may not have just lost their job. This coronavirus is going to blow over, and half the people aren't going to have jobs to go back to.
It is going to be tough. But one of the things you can do is you could go to some of these people that are selling these houses that are in a worse place than you. Offer to do a lease with an option to buy, or a rent to own, or maybe a deed in lieu. There's so many strategies you could use where you take over and make their payments, plus you pay them a little bit more every single month. That doesn't affect your credit because you're dealing directly with the seller of the house. And then what you do is you basically take ownership of the property, or they keep ownership and they just continue. There's ways to do it. I'm not saying it's ideal. The most ideal way would be, when you move your money to those community banks and the credit unions, build a relationship with them, tell them that you're looking to buy a house, and then work on getting your credit score brought up. That's something you could be working on right now. I just showed you how you could start getting rid of bad debt. That would also increase your credit score, because the last time I checked, 401k loans don't hit your credit score. Okay. So
you
were just going to say something.
Yeah, I do, because it's a big concept that I want to use as a tip. Can you talk about the difference between good debt and bad debt? And that'll be our final tip, I think, for.
Yeah. So bad debt is your credit card debt. It's money that you're paying out every single month and you're getting nowhere and you're not getting ahead and it's not helping you. So good debt, as Robert Kiyosaki would talk about it in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is good debt would be debt that pays you. So it would be using a mortgage or a line of credit to buy a rental property, and that rental property pays you an income every single month. Good debt could be your home equity line of credit that then you use that home equity line of credit to pay off your credit cards or your bad debts, and then you recycle and recapture the money and pay back your home equity line. Any debts that will help you earn an income. I always tell people I could show you how to have your house pay for your car. And, we really didn't have time to get into that, but that would be good debt. Getting a home equity line of credit and taking the money from your home equity line and finding a way to make that money work harder and get a higher interest rate than what you're paying the bank on that home equity line. If your home equity line costs you 5% and you can go out and make 7 or 8% on that money, that is good debt. If your home equity line of credit costs you 5% and you take your home equity line, you pay off a credit card that was costing you 20%, and then you recycle and recapture that money, you just did yourself a really good service. You literally just put yourself back in control of your money, and you just made yourself the spread of whatever that was. I mean, think about that. I talk about this with credit cards all the time, or with 401k loans. If it costs you 5% to take a loan from your 401k and you pay off credit cards that were costing you 20%, did you not just make 15% in doing that? Because really you did. You were giving away 20%. And now it's costing you 5 to basically take back that 20, which the net is 15. But really in a 401k loan, you're keeping that 5% because it's going back in your account. So how much did you really make? The full spread. Well, you could do that all day long. It's just, you've just never been shown how to do this, folks.
I want to clarify something, because I find that this is very pervasive in the, especially the American society, consumerism. But a lot of people think like if they bought a car and got a great deal on a car, that somehow that's good debt.
No. There's never going to be a car loan you're going to buy that's going to be good debt, because your car will always depreciate in value. I could show you with that system, that webinar. I'll motivate you guys right now to watch that webinar that I did. If you watch that webinar, in there, it will show you how to get all the money back for every single car you will ever buy, drive, and own. There's no catch to it. There's no mystery. There's no secret. You just need to learn one thing. Me and Brent wrote an entire book about this, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. This is what the wealthy know that you don't. There's no gimmick. There's no, thing here. There's just nothing. I've written 2 books. I wrote the book on private money, the Private Money Guide, and I wrote this book, Mapping Out the Millionaire. Actually, Doctor, let's give this book away for free. I think this audience needs this book. So you guys have the webinar, which is basically this book in a nutshell, but I'll also give everybody a link for this book for free. You just got to pay the shipping. So I'm not going to ship it to you for free, but I'll give you the book for free. So I'll put a link up for that. It's the same thing. It's moneyschoolrei.com/new book. Don't put a space in between new book. So moneyschoolrei.com/new book. I just did that link. I don't give it out very often, but it'll give you that book for free. You just pay the shipping.
That's really awesome. That's really nice of you. I'll get that up here. So where did we go wrong? Why are we so broke? In the wealthiest country in the world,
gosh, there's so many
opportunity. If you could tell somebody to do one thing right now that would change their financial future, what would you tell them?
If I could tell them to do one thing, I would say invest some money in learning how this works. That would be the first thing you should do. Invest some time and some, might be some money with buying a book or paying for the shipping on a book to learn how this works. That would be what I would tell you to do. I can't, in 1 hour or whatever we went live here, teach you everything you need to know. Matter of fact, all I'm doing is I'm helping you right now today. I'm talking about some things that you can say, that just doesn't make any sense, that I'd never been taught that, because I'm trying to get you to change the way you think about how money works. That's all I'm trying to do. And we're going to do this regularly. And I'm going to go deeper and deeper and deeper and start giving you tangible step by step step-by-step ways that this all works. I'm not just like throwing a bunch of stuff out at you guys and saying, okay, good luck, go get them, Tiger. No, we're going to show you every step of what I just said and how this really works. I can teach you everything that I know, but I can't do it in an hour. And some of it's going to involve you on your own time watching my webinars. My webinars don't sell anything, folks. I'm not sitting here trying to sell things. I make plenty of money in different places where I don't have to do these to sell you something. But what I will teach you will change your life. So where we went wrong, I think where we went wrong is, and you can take this for what it is, we have been in good times for too long. And I know that sounds weird, but we have literally been in good times for too long. We've been, it's been very easy. Everybody's been employed. Everybody's been making money. Credit has been incredibly easy to get. Nobody's had a hard time getting a car loan, have you? Nobody's had a hard time getting a credit card and going out and getting another credit card and another credit card and another. Money has been really easy. And even though we've been in this easy time where employment's been good and everything, now all of a sudden it just literally collapsed underneath us. And this won't be the last time this will happen in your life. There's a pattern, a cyclical pattern that this happens every 7 to 10 years. It's always done that. And but in a period of 7 to 10 years, we tend to forget toward the end of it that happened. We forgot all about 2008 and 9, right? We didn't learn anything about we forgot it. We learned then and we're like, wow, I'm never going to do that again. But yet now here, there's people that have their houses paid off and they don't have a home equity line of credit, where in 2009, there was people saying, man, I will never, ever allow the bank to freeze my lines of credit again. And that's what the wealthy remembered, and I don't know why it's the wealthy that are good stewards of money. Maybe because they have good counsel, maybe because they have the resources to pay, good consultants and advisors, or maybe, just maybe, they remember what everybody else seems to forget. The good times we've been in have created, us to not be good stewards of money because it's been too easy. Well, now it's not easy. Now we're forced to now think differently, think out of the box, think unconventionally about what we're doing. And if you don't, well, you know exactly what's going to happen. There's going to be more companies that go bankrupt. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to lose a lot of things during this. And I think it's a shame. And it's a shame because it could have been avoided, but there is no source of getting the knowledge you need when it comes to financial knowledge outside of seeking that knowledge out yourself. No one's going to come to your kitchen table and teach you this because they can't get paid to do it. No one's going to sit there, at your bank and teach you how to do this because they can't get paid. No advisor is going to tell you what I'm going to tell you because they can't get paid. And I'm sorry, but that's where the problem starts, is we have all gotten greedy. The places we get our financial knowledge is all from a self-serving source. No disrespect, because I know there's probably some advisors on here. I love financial advisors. You guys do a great job, but I do understand that there's a lot of things you can't talk to your clients about, or you just don't because there's no financial reward in it. And that is what I do. I teach the things that no one else will teach. And I do it from a place of purely, you have to know this. And that's how I do this. And some of you are probably like, how do you make a living? I have private funds. I have real estate portfolios. I have a community that costs a whopping $190 a year. And we have a lot of members in that. And then I help people set up privatized banking systems. So I make money a lot of different places, probably 10, 12 different places. So I don't need to make money by selling things. I just don't.
Yeah, the average millionaire has 7 sources of streams of income. That's what they say. Chris, it's been an hour. I want to thank you for your time. You've really blown our minds with some of the stuff that that you're talking about. And I'm really happy to announce that we're going to make this a regular show because, I don't know if you remember, but, I went through a bad spell in 2008. I was $4 million in debt. I lost everything. I had to go through bankruptcy. And this was as a young surgeon. So I was a surgeon at the time. Everyone thought I was a big baller. And there I was, $4 million in debt. And I was nervous every time I ran the credit card, if it would go or not. And I was just like you. I was using a line of credit to kind of, pay off things and just keep things afloat as long as I could. So my life didn't change until I decided to get financially smarter. And then that was, I lost everything at the age of 36. 9 years later, at the age of 45, I walked away from surgery. I was able to retire. So, and it's not as hard as we're making it out to seem. So I like to have my viewers know that you're going to be a regular contributor to my show. And I'm so happy to share you with my audience, and what you're teaching is completely invaluable. And I put up your link to your free 90-minute webinar. And guys, it's absolutely free. It's amazing. He goes through that money multiplier cycle for you. There's no hook at the end. He's not selling you a product. There's not like, ooh, gotcha now at the end of the webinar. There's none of that stuff. It is purely educational. And I think that's absolutely amazing. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I think most of the stuff that I do is like that. Like there's never a hook. I mean, I always tell everybody I'm the worst salesperson on earth. I have no idea how to sell. But the beauty is I don't have to, because if I just help enough people understand how this works, then I'll be taken care of. The oldest thing in the universe, if you give, you get, but you can't focus on the get. You just got to keep giving. And that's what I started doing. This is my calling during these hard times. It's my job, my calling, my divine, whatever you want to call it, divine download is what I call it, to go out there and help people understand this, because no one else is.
And give them hold up the book one more time and give them the address. So about the new book.
Yeah. So the address to get this book would be moneyschool, REI.com/new book. So it's a pretty easy one to remember, and just go on there and you just pay for the shipping.
Yeah. Free. That's really nice of you to give it away also. All right, Chris, can we get back on in a couple of weeks? What do you think?
Absolutely. I think that would be great. And I think the next one, I mean, I don't know, pick a topic. I mean, anything money related, we'll discuss it. If your audience has some things they'd really like to know, if they'd like to learn what the wealthy do with money and how they basically can make a guaranteed 4% on their money while still having access to it, and even how when they take their money out of these accounts that they set up, they still make interest on that money. We could talk about that. We could talk about the stock market if there's a lot of people that have questions.
I think now that you've been so generous and you've given out your free book, I'm going to challenge my audience to get a copy of that book. Hold it up again. Challenge my audience to get a copy of your free book, read it, and then when you're back in 2 weeks, we can do a deep dive into that book and the multiplier system. What do you think?
I think that's great. And do you mind if I just read like the back part of the book? This will get people really interested, because this will kind of teach them. So what if you could get all the money back for every purchase you've ever made and create wealth through the debts and expenses that you already have? If you're like most Americans, you've spent your entire adult life paying the banks, your creditors, and your expenses. And at the same time, you've watched your retirement funds and your legacy drastically fluctuate or evaporate in the markets. Folks, I wrote this book before the markets crashed. You've been taught to give up control of your finances and assume risk, and it's costing you your financial freedom. The wealthiest people, no different. In the book, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, we dive and expand upon a 200-year-old strategy that's been used by the wealthy to eliminate debt, grow their wealth, minimize their taxes, and leave a legacy. They teach it in a way that's tactical enough for even the most novice person to do. And then it goes on to say, let's see, now you can build your wealth, keep your money in your family, pay off debts and expenses, and recycle and recapture money like the conventional banks do, all without taking on any risk, working any harder, without changing your cash flow, and without losing control of your finances. Today, everything changes. Today, you become the bank. And that's the book. I love reading that, because that is just so true.
All right, brother. That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time. And we'll have you back in a couple of weeks. And I'm challenging my audience to grab that book, read it, and then we can talk, do a deep dive in 2 weeks. Sound good?
Fantastic. Sounds great. Thank you, everybody.
Chris Naugle. Hey, if people wanted to follow you, how do they get a hold of you?
Best way is Instagram, Chris_Naugle, or go to my website, chrisnaugle.com.
Chris Naugle, but you're the man. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, buddy.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, you have your challenge. I got the link right there for that book, moneyschoolrei.com/new book. I challenge you to go get a copy, read it in the next 2 weeks, and I'll have Chris back on to discuss it, right? Sound good? Thank you guys so much for watching. Part of the thing, this coronavirus, can be a blessing in disguise. If you take this time and you focus on yourself and you get yourself educated, you'll come out of this much better than we went in. So I love the fact that my good friend Chris Naugle wants to come on here, give up his time. It's Sunday morning, he gave up an hour of his time to educate you. And super excited to have him as a regular contributor. I'll see you in 2 weeks when we're back again with Mr. Chris Naugle. Cool, guys? Thanks.